Yeah. So fundamentally, what I would like to do is try to triangulate how I can spend more time with all the amazing people that I've interviewed, which is over 2,000 or so people. I mean, I've got 4,000 connections on LinkedIn, and at least 2,000 of them, if not more at this point now and counting, are actually people I've interviewed, got to know their origin story, their journey, where they were taking their company. And maybe I should do an assessment of maybe throw them into a spreadsheet and connect with people there and sort of one by one see where they're at, follow up. It's difficult at that scale for 2000, but there are some people that definitely come to mind, though they may be less accessible now than they were when I first spoke with them. And that's one of the beauties about podcasting is where you catch people at what time you catch them. It's a really interesting process, I would argue. And so suffice it to say that I won't be leaving this video up for too long, but the general idea was to see what Riverside could do as a live streaming platform. And this is from, where I actually do my podcasting. It may be entirely different once I step into trying to do this from my mobile phone or what have you. But I do want LinkedIn to succeed as a platform and a place where I can interact and activate from. It has so many amazing people there, all people who are hard workers, who are innovators, who are entrepreneurial, who are intrapreneurs, all these very interesting people that I've had the fortune to be connected to. And yet as a platform, LinkedIn doesn't make it that easy to shape my feed and to shape how I stay in touch with people. It's kind of just left to chance on whoever's posting, as far as I can see. Uh, I don't necessarily want to use it as a lead manager, but there should be some kind of connection, relationship management, functionality brought into it beyond a direct message, you know? I think so anyways. And I know there are a lot of people who are developing really interesting tools. Like Joe Applebaum had invented a tool called Evie AI. While on one hand, it does sort of encourage you and give you tools to help post more and interact more with people, I actually really liked what they did with the CRM function of it and what they were trying to do there to help manage the relationships. For me, functionally, that was way more valuable because I don't mind writing. The problem is the whole challenge is really beyond writing. It's actually just staying connected with the people that I want to beyond having like a list of links that I can click to view their profile. I do think there should be some form of management of that because unlike other platforms where the feed may lead to serendipity and there's like content you can consume and it's really a consumer platform, LinkedIn itself, I believe, is a working platform, a place where it's not just a resume online. It's a place where people really can share ideas at the professional level. Does it have a degree of corporate approach in terms of how you're supposed to present yourself and the candor and tone? Likely. And that does bring its own advantages as well as disadvantages. I like to think of it as a dress code being on LinkedIn. There is a dress code to being here. When you wear things a certain way and a certain type of wear, certain type of fashion, you act a certain way. That's why places have dress codes. It keeps certain behaviors out. And so I think that's not a zero sum. I do believe that there's benefits to that by and large. What I'd like to see more though is better tools for being able to connect with each other and stay in touch with each other. Even the search function, as robust as it is, I don't know. I feel like you really have to search to find your tribe. And it shouldn't be that way on LinkedIn. I do think that the tool has its place. I just don't think that beyond its influencers and micro influencers filling the feeds, and maybe every now and then someone who's actually creating insightful content on the platform fits and finds your feed. Other than that, it's a lot of AI generated content. And I'm not saying AI generated content is bad. I'm not against AI as a tool. I do think, though, that we should try to retain as much as we can the human element in interacting socially here. And maybe that's just it. A lot of social platforms have shifted from social media to interest media. And quite possibly LinkedIn maybe has done the same thing, shifting away from who knows who and why do they know who and here's what those people are interested in and talking about, to who's interested in what and how do we show you more of what you're interested in. So if you happen to like a corporate humor video, suddenly your feed is nothing but corporate humor. And I guess that's one way to run a platform, especially for advertising. I don't know how much money LinkedIn is making from advertising. I would argue LinkedIn fundamentally is trying to train itself. If you remember when they were doing the collaborative articles, that was sort of, I think, its way of training its model. The irony of it was that many people were likely using LLMs or chat models to write all the stuff and then feed it into itself. So it was sort of training itself on itself. And a lot of people got a bunch of badges of like top contributor based on that. But I don't think that's the ideal way to train a model. Maybe the engineers behind what LinkedIn was doing with those collaborative articles had a plan for that in place on how they could parse that information and that data and train their models accordingly. But now it's an additional service on LinkedIn to add. LinkedIn will help you write your posts or something to that effect. And I understand that they're still trying to find their revenue streams and how they unlock that. But that's a high signal that they don't mind that AI is writing the stuff. And that's not a problem, of course. Everyone's using AI, whether the platform itself is giving you the tool or someone's going outside and bringing it in. I understand that. You can always tell because it's difficult and who has the time. The fact that I can do a live today is, one in a million. And I'm not sure this is going to be something that I'm going to be doing regularly. But the truth is, when I show up on here, half the people I see in my feed are not the people that I know, not the people that I want to interact with. And there's no way to modify or shape that so that you can see that because of the that interest graph approach that it's taken as an algorithm feed. And I don't think that's helping LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn should find a way to enhance what was the social media graph of interacting with the who's who and leaning on that more than the other. Thankfully, I haven't gotten as many messages of people going, I noticed you're wearing a black shirt. I have a black shirt too. Let's connect. And how can I sell you my lead generation services? That's great because for a while it was a real turnoff. And I've made faux pas where I thought maybe I should use LinkedIn this way, where I would send direct messages to people really early on in my LinkedIn usage, trying to generate a lead that way, to do something, to offer something to somebody that I don't think they needed, but at the time I was very young in the game and I was approaching it based on what I saw. There's a time and a place for cold leads and trying to address that. But I don't think our social network should be the place where that kind of thing happens. Interesting enough, there's an organization called Entrepreneur Organization that I was fortunate enough to work with early on in my years. Now, not so much. And really, they just wanted a podcast editor at the time. But it was cool to see and be a part of that. Thanks to Joe Alphabaum, which led to me meeting Mordecai Weiner. And then from there, getting in touch with Cal Fussman and being able to be a part of that and attending EO events in New York and being able to work with some of the West LA chapters here. It's interesting because they have a rule where you're kind of not allowed to give advice. You kind of just have to share what you did. And through that, what they call the Gestalt method, I believe, you can then come to your own conclusions about how you want to approach maybe a situation that you're dealing with as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a leader of a team. And I think that's kind of what should be applied to LinkedIn. And I thought that was kind of the point of it, but it's really turned into sort of a job board. And as somebody who took on a project, I actually took on a contract to help someone hire people, and I saw there's like 14 pages of people that just easy applied or what have you, and you got to do your due diligence and find the people, and it costs money to be able to post the job and to go through and connect with the people who applied for the job, and it's a lot of work for just one person. I was really dumbfounded. And then the follow up after the interviews. And you can't promise or guarantee anything to the people who are interviewing who you determined were right for the gig, because you never know what the team is thinking, because then they may not be sharing the full criteria with you. And so it's a really interesting dynamic. So to know that LinkedIn has this job board, but then sometimes people are listing jobs just so that they can keep their team on their toes. I've heard of that politically for the office. That's kind of crazy. Then there are people posting podcasting work opportunities where they want you to do spec work and they want you to do edits and examples of social clips. But regardless of whether you have a portfolio or not, but then they'll list it at a certain rate and then not pay you and also say the work wasn't good, even if it was half decent. I'm not going to assume that it's the best, but even half decent, the work is the work. And yet people are using it for all sorts of ways. And I don't see any conversation or policing around that. And, I'm not one to be the police squad, but there's a lot of quality of life things that could be improved on a platform like this that I think would encourage more people to be active on here beyond what it's currently used for, which is let's stay connected professionally and maybe one day we'll be back in touch. But if we do, it probably will be via email instead of LinkedIn. And that sucks. That really does suck. I do think that this platform could be so much more. And those are my unfiltered thoughts, right? There's no editing. This is me being live. Unfortunately, I can't edit the beginning of this where I was kind of just seeing what Riverside could do with the live space. And it looks like it definitely allows for live to take place, but there are no overlays or anything that I can do with it. It just shares my name. And I don't see, I guess I could add a reaction, right? I can add a thumbs up. Doesn't seem to show in the live here, or maybe it will later because there's a latency delay. But outside of that, I don't see much. I can bring up a script for my own reading. Whatever the case may be, I hope that if you did watch this all the way, you feel the same way that I do to some degree enough to want to change what's happening on here. But if users don't complain or make any noise, it'll never change, and I know that they don't make it easy as a platform to be in touch with moderators and people who can help shape that. As far as I understand, I've been on here for a while and I have maybe come across one or two people prior to when they invented creator tools, which is just analytics as far as I can tell. It should be a little more obvious who I'm talking to and how we can help shape the platform in a way that can actually help the users. Because otherwise, what is it? A database for how people want to be seen professionally? I'm not really sure. What is LinkedIn for you? Go ahead and comment below and make sure to subscribe. No, no. But seriously, if you could leave a comment and tell me, what is LinkedIn as a platform for you?